Hey guys, I'm Elliot. This is Everything Elliot, and today we're going to discuss the conventional / unconventional or non-conventional ways that I heat my house and shop. And I am forced to do this because I don't have availability of natural gas. So if you don't have natural gas at your house, this might be an interesting video for you to see the opportunities you have to heat your house and or garage space. And if you do have natural gas and you want to see how the other half lives, well, this video also might be interesting for you. So we're in the shop currently, and that big square thing in the corner, that's my shop heater. If you haven't heard me talk about that before, that is a Lanair Waste Oil Heater. That burns used waste oil, and we're gonna go through the process of what that looks like today. We're also gonna go through the process of how I heat my home. So before we go any further, we gotta jump on the tractor and we gotta go unload some barrels off my truck. So last night, I went to a person's shop. I don't really know this person. I posted on Facebook, said I'm looking for used oil, and I always get an overwhelming response. If it's above 55 gallons, I'll go to pick it up. If it's below 55 gallons, the people can come drop it off. I get a bunch of people that drop off oil here, and then I get a bunch of people that I have to go pick it up. So last night was one of those nights, and I picked up almost 100 gallons from one person's shop. Yeah, just out here, about to get some free heat for the shop. I'm gonna load those up. Gonna load those up, about 100 gallons in total. So these are the 2 drums of barrel that, 2 drums of barrel? These are the 2 drums of oil that I filled last night. Let's get them on the forks and get them into the shop. All right. All right, let's see if we can get a 2-for-1 special. Now this might be a mistake trying to do 2 at once, but I normally only do 1 at a time, but since I've got 2, and I only want to make 1 trip, might as well try it. If nothing happens, the next shot you'll see is me opening the shop door. If something happens, the next shot you're gonna see is me wrestling one of these in the yard. They are closed, so they will not leak, but guess we'll find out. So the trip back here was uneventful, which is a good thing. These barrels are surprisingly easy to move around, even though they're full. I mean, it'd be easier if I had a barrel dolly, but I don't. All right, so that, well, let me just show you here. Hold on, I'll turn off the tractor. Back it up first. I don't want any ice to fall off the roof onto it. So this is what I was talking about. Here's that green barrel that's currently unloading. I've got a pneumatic barrel pump, I guess, for lack of better terms. Dumps into this tank here, and then it heats this heater. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I want to go get some wood stacked because that's how I heat my house. It's not the only way I heat my house, but it's one of the main ways. And you can see I keep a couple face cord of wood in my shop before it goes into the house because otherwise it's covered in snow. So as I take one out of here, I take one out of the driveway and bring it into the shop so it dries. Let's grab one of those bins. Whoa, a little heavy on the one side apparently. So this bin doesn't have a cutout in it yet, essentially for me to reach to the bottom, similar to what you see back there. This is one of my new bins that I haven't emptied out yet. It's probably 2 years old. I just haven't used this wood yet. So before we can go empty this, we need to cut the front of it out so I can actually get the wood out of it. Oh boy, hold on. The heater's going, but I hear something else. Hear that noise? See that? This barrel's done. Turn the air off and we'll just let all the pressure come out of this barrel. We're pretty close to full on that thing now. That's a 250-gallon storage tank. But I want to get this wood stacked before my wife gets home with my son, because he'll have to go to bed, to night-night, nap time, and I can't be tossing around wood into the house with him trying to sleep. So this takes priority right now. So now I can reach all the way to the bottom. Let's get this over to the house and we'll get stacked and we'll talk about wood heat and how I heat my home. Because like I said earlier, wood is not the only thing I use. So this is how my process works. Essentially, I grab the wood out of the shop, I bring it over to the mudroom door, and I physically take it out of the IBC tote and stack it over here on this wood shelf that I made. There's probably about half a face cord there now, probably a little more. This span is 13 foot, and then it can go all the way up to, I can stack up to, I think, 7 foot up here. Clearly it's not on the ground, there's some drawers under there. But that's how it works for me. When we redid this mudroom, I asked my wife if I could put French doors in here so I could just put a whole IBC tote in here, put it on wheels, and push it against the wall. She didn't love that idea. So physical labor it is. I'm gonna get this stuff stacked up, then we'll head in the house and we'll talk about the wood stove that I use, essentially. All right, so that's another face cord stacked in here. And this is about, this will last us probably about a week and a half. We burn a lot of firewood here because we live in a very cold climate and we have a ranch. So we have a lot of footprint to heat versus a 2-story, which is less footprint and the heat will rise to heat the house. So we burn an extreme amount of firewood. I'll go through almost somewhere between 25 to 30 face cord per year. That's my average. And there's what's left in the bin. This is actually a bin that I had when I used to have the American CLS log splitter. So this is prior to the Easton Made and no grizzly bars. So that's why there's a lot of slash there. I'm gonna get this out of the way of the door because my wife's gonna be home with my son. I'm gonna have lunch with them and then we'll go talk about the fireplace and everything else because I really haven't touched on much yet. Turn the fan off so you can hear me. So this is my fireplace. It's a wood burning stove insert because there's actually a big fireplace that was here originally when we purchased the house, and when I knew I wanted to heat with wood, the fireplace just isn't worth it. And I've got that blower on there. I actually upgraded the blower. This thing came with a 60 CFM fan in it, and I upgraded it to 150 CFM fan because it just blows more hot air. that being said, I told you that I live in a ranch and I've got a lot of square footage to cover. So the only way that I could do that is with this thing that's up above me right there. So I installed this grate right above the fireplace. We're probably like 3 foot in front of it. And what that has is an inline fan in it. So it's like an 8-inch inline fan, and then I'll show you where that goes. The ductworks all ran through the ceiling in the attic. So then in my room and my son's room, I have this duct here. This is the out. So basically you've got your in over there and then your out here, and the inline fan is in the ceiling somewhere. You can see the controllers right here for it. And I've got the fan setting on 3, it goes up to 10. There's all sorts of settings where you can turn it on at a temperature, turn it off at a temperature. But that's just the way that I leave it. I just leave it on that number 3 and it works very well. Before installing that, this half of the house would be really cold. It'd be like 60 degrees in this half of the house, and it'd be like 80 degrees in this half of the house that has the fireplace in it. So that really helped even things out and makes everything right around 70 degrees, depending how much firewood we throw in here. Turn this back on. Since we're done talking about this, there you go. You might say to yourself, Elliot, that can't be the only way that you heat your home, and it's not. That is an oil boiler. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't actually boil the oil. It burns oil to heat water and sends hot water throughout my house because I have baseboard heat. Now when I say it burns oil, that's kept in this tank right here, and it's not like motor oil, it's home heating fuel or diesel fuel. I burn diesel fuel in mine because it's just easier for me. I can go to the reservation, I can fill up my transfer tank, get 100 gallons for about 300 bucks, and then just dump it in here. See these pipes here, right there? So this one is the fill, and this one is a vent. It's pretty simple. Outside, I have a cap, I guess. I just put my transfer tank hose into it and fill this up. Now you might say to yourself, Elliot, why do you rely on the firewood and not just use this thing? Well, diesel fuel is expensive. It's about $3 a gallon, and when this thing is churning, it burns about a gallon an hour. And there's a lot of hours in the day, and there's a lot of days in the wintertime. So you can imagine this thing adds up very quickly, leading me to rely on the firewood. The first year that we were in this home, we didn't have firewood, so we just used this for the entire winter, and it cost me just shy of $5,000 to heat my house for the winter, which is exactly why I started splitting firewood. And if you're wondering what I split firewood with, there is an Easton-made 2228 with attached conveyor under this snow somewhere over there. You can see the conveyor coming out. My excavator's buried, and then under this giant pile of snow right here is my log pile. If you wonder why I don't split firewood in the wintertime, this is why. I only do firewood in the summer. It's just too harsh out here. So yeah, it's cold right now. So what we need to do now is we need to get 2 of these bins into the shop. We got to shovel the tops off, get the tops off of them, and we need to clear a path in the snow so we can grab them with the tractor. Once we get these inside the shop, we'll talk about how I heat the shop. Now we need to make a path to get them out with the tractor. All right, so this is essentially where these are going to thaw out for the next 2 weeks or so. This one is ready to go. It's been in here for almost a month now. These ones will melt. All the water will just go into the floor drain. It's really not a big deal. Now, what you all have been waiting for, the grand finale, the waste oil furnace. So those 2 barrels I got yesterday are full of waste oil. If you don't know what waste oil is, it's basically any type of oil that's been used. So cooking oil, hydraulic oil, motor oil, transmission oil, all the things in the oil family. Diesel fuel as well. It'll burn diesel fuel, kerosene, everything. Like it pretty much burns everything. So what I'm talking about is this Lanair XT300. Now this is a 300,000 BTU furnace. That's a lot bigger than you probably need in your garage or workshop. I am just in a very large space that is very poorly insulated. So I wanted the big dog. This is the biggest thing they make, 300,000 BTUs, and Lanair is actually one of my sponsors, so make sure you go check them out if you're interested. They make little units. If you want to put a unit in your garage, they make little itty bitty ones. Perfect for you. Make sure you check them out. But essentially, we pump oil out of barrels. Like I said, that green one right there. I don't know why I said we. I pump oil out of these barrels. Pneumatic, so the air line hooks up to it. It forces air into this barrel, and then with the pressure, it forces the oil out through that hose into there, which that's a strainer. So that's a pre-strain. It goes into this big holding tank, which is about 250 gallons, and then the magic happens. So you've got an oil pump right there. That pumps oil out of it. I know my camera keeps focusing on my hand. So oil gets pumped out of there, goes into that filter housing, through here, through this copper tubing, into a regulator, up to the burner. Now you also need compressed air. So I've got my gauges right there, compressed air going in, and it basically works like a fuel injector. So you've got the oil injector squirting oil, and then what the air is doing is providing extra oomph, for a lack of better terms, and that atomizes the oil. And then there's 2 contact points that a spark runs in between, and the oil gets sprayed past that spark, that ignites it, and then you've got heat. It's very simple, it's very reliable. I have had this thing for 2 winters now, but I had one prior. I actually had a Lanair prior, and that one was about 30 years old, and it was still running. So they are reliable. The only difference is my old one would not run synthetic oils. This one, I mean, you could put just about anything in there, it'll burn it. It's pretty wild. So yeah, this heats my shop. This whole thing in the corner, this noisy contraption heats my shop. This huge 30 by 60, 12-foot ceilings, 12-foot walls, the ceilings are higher. And I think in the future what I'd like to do is get some ductwork that goes along that wall all the way to the front with like registers that are coming out of it every 8 feet or so. I think that would even heat out a little bit. So if you're in the Western New York area and that's something you can do, send me an email, everythingelliott716@gmail.com, because I don't know who to call to do that. Like HVAC companies, they don't want to do it because they didn't install the heater. They don't want to touch it. So if you're a ductwork guy in the Western New York area, shoot me an email. So that's going to be about it for this one. My unconventional ways or conventional. I mean, I guess half of it's conventional, half of it's non-conventional. The Firewood really isn't that non-conventional. I mean, for some people it probably is, but for a lot of you, since you do follow my channel, you probably burn firewood yourself, but you might not have a waste oil heater, and it might be something for you to look into if you need to heat your shop or garage or whatever. I want to heat my house with it, but I think that's illegal. I'd have to look into that. Yeah. All right. If you burn waste oil to heat your house, leave me a comment. I want to know how you do it. I've been thinking about doing more lifestyle videos such as this, where I don't necessarily have a project. You just kind of go along with me for what I do day to day, because in the wintertime, honestly, I don't have that many projects. It's just cold. And yeah, I don't do much in the... And if you're wondering, I keep the shop at 40 degrees when I'm not in here and 60 degrees when I am working in here. And I'm not really working in here right now, so it's set to 40 degrees, and that's why you can see my breath. All right, that's it. Thanks for following along, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay warm and have a great day.